This is a story written in real time based on the randomly generated word hooch. Hooch. I like that. We begin. And it was a hot afternoon when the still blew up. It was the only source of income for a little Jerry, who was actually not little at all in age, but was little in stature. He was about 70 years old, and he'd spent his whole life making bootleg gin in a still in the ground. One of those stills in a big hole to dig out off away from the cabin where he called home. And on this hot afternoon, his still went sky high. There was little shrapnel raining around, and he stepped out the front door of his cabin to see a big chunk of glass and a hunk of wood splat right in front of him on his porch. And he said, well, time to get moving again. Because he knew that with the sound of that explosion, he'd be having law enforcement from within a 5-mile radius all coming to figure out what just happened. He was no foreigner to moving around, having to live on the go. But every time it was a little harder. And this particular occasion was the hardest of all, for he had met a friend. He was more inclined to stay alone. It was lower risk in terms of if you did have to get up and go, but he'd made friends with a local boy who also was a bit of a loner and liked to wander the forest, and just stumbled upon his cabin one day. And this boy came running at the sound of the explosion, and he saw little Jerry. Why did I call him little Jerry? He saw little Jerry concerned. What is he gonna do? He's throwing all of his all of his clothes into a bag and loading up his horse and a little trolley that he connected to the horse to take his stuff further up the road. Except he wasn't going on roads, he was going only back roads, because he knew that the police would be coming up soon. And little boy, who was named Big Billy, because that's not going to be confusing at all. The old man named Little Jerry and the young boy named Big Billy. Big Billy said, "What are you doing, little Jerry? Why are you in such a kerfuffle? I heard an explosion. What's going on?" And he said, "Don't you mind what's going on, Big Billy. This is the end of the road for us, and I got to be moving on." And Big Billy said, "Why, little Jerry? You mean so much to me. You're like the father that I never had." And little Jerry said, "You don't have a father?" Big Billy said, "No, and I don't have a mother either. I'm very alone in the world, and talking to you about illegal stuff that you do is my only relief. What am I going to do?" And little Jerry said, "Well, I don't know, but based on the sounds of it, I am not a good influence on you as a role model, and you probably should go anywhere else." And Big Billy said, "No, little Jerry, I'm coming with you." And little Jerry said, "I think that's a bad idea. I'm basically an outlaw. My only source of income just exploded, and now I'm going who knows where to do who knows what. Except I know what. It's going to be to start another illegal business." And Big Billy said, "That sounds pretty cool to me because I'm a young child, and that just sounds exciting. And so let's go together." And little Jerry said, "Look, I just need to leave. I can't argue with anymore. So fine. If you're an orphan and you want to come along, let's go. Hop on. You can ride the luggage in the back." And so little Jerry hopped onto his horse, and they took off through the trees. And he heard the hooting and hollering of police coming down the road, that was a short ways off through the trees, and he knew that he'd gotten away just in time. But he also knew that they would find out that it was definitely him because his had the only cabin anywhere near there, and so they might be after him. So he knew he had to go far, far away. They traveled for a very long time, days and days, until they stumbled across an orchard. And they were moving their way through that orchard when a 30-something woman came out and said, "What are you doing in my orchard?" And Little Jerry said, "Oh, I don't mean to offend. I don't mean to intrude. We're not going to take any of the lovely ripe peaches that you have on these trees. We just want to be on our way, and we're finding ourselves a home." And she said, "Well, move along. We see to it that you do." And then she saw a little boy riding on the back, and she had a change of heart a bit. It softened her to see a child traveling in such a state, and looked like such a wayward duo. And so she said, "Well, you can stay for dinner. It's not, I don't have much, but I wouldn't mind, and then you can be off in the morning." And Little Jerry said, "Well, that's very kind of you, and I think we'll take you up on that." And so she made them a nice dinner of peach cobbler and no main entrees, and they were just fine with that because it was a super delicious peach cobbler. And they thanked her for her kindness, and she asked where where you traveling. And Little Jerry said, "Well, we don't exactly know. We're moving on somewhere new. This poor little orphan boy, he has nowhere to go, and I'm the only one to look out for him, and so we're finding a new home." And she said, "Well, it's gonna be the harvest season soon. You could stay here and help me with the harvest, and I won't be able to pay you much, but I'll be able to pay you some, and it might help a little to make a home for yourself when you do leave. And I've got some space up in the barn, and you could sleep there. And what do you think of that? How would that suit you?" And Little Jerry looked at the boy, and Big Billy was like, "Yes, I very much would like to stay with this nice lady and eat peach cobbler as much as possible." And so Little Jerry said, "Okay, then we shall stay." And so Little Jerry, he was old, but he was a good worker, and he could pick those peaches well. And Big Billy, of course, was more than happy to spend his days running around the fields and climbing up ladders and picking peaches. And these were very sunny days. These were very happy days, and they all took a liking to each other, and they formed an unconventional sort of found family. And then a short while later, there was a knock on the woman's door, and it was the police. And they said, "We're looking for bootleggers. Have you seen any shady characters coming through, people who look like they're up to no good?" And she said, "No, not at all." And Little Jerry and Big Billy were in the next room over, and they could hear this happening. And Little Jerry was tense because he recognized the sound of the policeman's voice. And he thought, "Oh my goodness, if they come in here, if they round this corner and see me, they're going to recognize me, and they're going to know that it was me who did it, because they know it's me because of my cabin, so they'll have found me." And the woman said, "No, I've seen no one. Looks like they're up to no good. It's just me and my fruit pickers here, and we're just fine, thank you." And the police said, "All right, sorry to trouble you," and they moved along. And Little Jerry let out a sigh of relief. And that night, over their dinner of peach cobbler, they Little Jerry, well, they developed a trust with this woman who is named Meredith Chalmers. Realized I didn't give her a name. And he said, "Meredith, I have to be honest with you. when we came your way, we weren't just wandering. We weren't just roaming to find a new home. We also were running from something. We were running from a town a few towns over, and I had a still there, and well, it shot sky high, and had to go on the run. And well, by the grace of good fortune, we stumbled across your lovely orchard here, and you were kind enough to take us in, and now I don't feel compelled to start a still again, and I think I'd be grateful if we could stay with you. And she said, well, I gotta be honest, I knew there was something about you. I didn't know what you were running from, but I could tell the look of a man running from something. And I knew what I was getting into when when I offered you to stay. But now that I know you run a still, that you used to own a still, I think our arrangement has to change. And Little Jerry said, I understand. I can get our things together and we can be gone first thing in the morning. And Meredith said, oh no, that's not at all what I meant. I mean, you're gonna start a still again, and you're gonna run it for me. And Little Jerry was like, what, run a still for you? What do you mean? Why would you want me to run a still? And Meredith was like, I'm not making any money from these peaches. We need to boost our profitability somehow. People like liquor. We could sell like peach flavored liquor or something. I don't know. I'm trying to get creative. I'm very entrepreneurial. I'm Meredith Chalmers. And Little Jerry was like, wow, well that's was an unexpected turn. I didn't expect you to be so cool with illegal stuff. And she's like, yeah, man, it's olden times. We gotta do what we gotta do. And Little Jerry was like, okay, let's go. And so out out in sort of a well covered area in the forest just beyond the orchard, he found a good spot to dig out a place for a still, and he started making schnapps, peach schnapps. And well, with the delicious peaches and the schnapps, they started making a good amount of money. And people liked to drink the schnapps and eat the peaches. And soon Meredith Chalmers was like, I think we can expand this even more. We can expand the barn and create a venue where people can come and gamble if they want, and we could have like live entertainment, and we could start a whole establishment, you know? And Little Jerry was like, wow, that's a really good idea. Is thinking even bigger. And she's like, I'm Meredith Chalmers. I'm very entrepreneurial. And Little Jerry's like, yes, you are Meredith Chalmers. And Big Billy was just super excited with all of this. He just thought it was exciting. He thought it was the most wonderful thing in the world to be in the middle of this crazy, illegal, just like boom of a business. And that's what they did. They built out the barn, and people started coming, and it became incredibly popular. But then some troublemakers started coming around, because you know what happens when people get too drunk and eat too many peaches? They can't help but start trouble. And that's what happened. And one day, a big brawl, a big riot broke out in the barn, and it got set on fire. And, well, the police came. It wasn't the police from the towns a few towns over. It was the police from that town. But the place had all burned down by the time they got there. And all the people had scattered, the people who had been causing the trouble. And so Meredith Chalmers and Little Jerry, they were just like, oh my goodness, thank God you're here. The fire, it tore through everything. It took everything. And they said, oh, Meredith, you're such a nice lady. I can't believe this has happened to you. And, well, Little Jerry had a crisis of conscience in that moment, and he said, my goodness. I thought I was running away from my illicit ways by coming here and hopefully joining up on this peach farm, but all I did was bring an opportunity to corrupt this upstanding orchard. And admittedly, Meredith Chalmers isn't helping the situation with her with her inclination to really lean into this illegal stuff. But I think I gotta be going. I think I gotta be on my way. And Meredith Chalmers said, I understand. But before you go, just have one last dinner of peach cobbler. Well, little Jerry wasn't gonna turn down a peach cobbler dinner. And so he sat down and settled in, and they started having a very good time and enjoying each other's company, reminiscing about all the crazy things that they did. And there was a knock at the door, and it was the police from a few towns over, and he'd heard about the fire, and he also heard some murmurings from townspeople, and through the grapevine that there had been some illicit activities going on. There had been still in the works. There had been an establishment of gambling and ill deeds. And so he knocked on the door, and he said, I gave you the benefit of the doubt the first time I came, but I think I'm gonna need to have a look around. And sure enough, he did, and he walked in to the kitchen, and he saw little Jerry there. And he said, well, 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 if it isn't Lil Jerry. Jerry said, I was waiting when I'd see you again. I knew it was just a matter of time. And the policeman sat down, and he said, do you mind if I have a slice of this delicious peach cobbler? And Meredith Chalmers said, by all means, go right ahead. So he started eating. He was just looking at Jerry and looking at Big Billy. And he said, kidnapping is a pretty serious crime. And Jerry said, I didn't kidnap anybody. I couldn't keep him away. He was an orphan. He just wanted to stay with me, and there's nothing I could do about it. Man said, he's not an orphan. He's got parents. They're very confused as to what happened. And Jerry said, Billy, why did you lie to me and say you were an orphan? And Big Billy was like, I wanted to do cool stuff. I wanted to come with you. I wanted to go wild and do a bunch of illegal things. And Big Billy was like, you are not a good influence either. I feel like this is all getting way out of control. It's good you're here, police officer. This needs to stop. It's just gone so out of hand, and just take me in, take me to jail. And the policeman said, well, it's interesting you should say that, because I'm not going to take you to jail. You're going to restart that establishment and it's still going, and now you all work with me. And they started an establishment again, and the cycle continued. And little Jerry found himself beholden to these people who now just wanted to use him for their own illicit gain. And he tried to be on his own, and he tried to do well, but in the end, greed and corruption, he could not escape. And he was trapped in the web of the greed of mankind. And Big Billy was taken to his parents, and he led a good life. The end. I really didn't know what to do with Big Billy at the end there. He was just kind of stuck in the story. I had all the other stuff going on. Anyway, there we go. The tale of Little Jerry and Big Billy, or the greed of mankind. The phallus, I don't know. Yeah, I like that. The tale of Little Jerry and Big Billy. There you go. That one went. I liked that one actually. That was kind of fun. Also, I feel like it teased up a sequel, maybe. Yeah, I could revisit that. There we go. The Ballad of Little Jerry and Big Billy. The end. All right. If you want more of these, go ahead and subscribe. See you next time.